The Research Experience for Summer Scholars program is a program developed from the Math and Science departments at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Each summer, the program provides funding for students working on research with IUP faculty members and hosts a variety of events where students have the opportunity to present their research and work on their professional development. Kathleen Doherty has been part of the RESS program for 2 years, working on her research on plant species in Pennsylvania, along with Dr. Yerger of the biology department.
My name is Kathleen Doherty, and I am graduating this December. I'm a senior, and I am a biology, ecology, conservation, and evolutionary biology major with a minor in geography and earning my certification in small unmanned aerial systems. Basically, we're trying to understand how the presence of invasive plants in an ecosystem can affect native plants and what kind of insects are in that community. We're focusing on that because we want to see how invasive plants and native plants support insects that birds will eventually eat or provide for their young. So this research is to see if in the presence of invasive plant species, if there's less food for birds to eat. A native species is a plant that has been in an area for anywhere from hundreds of years to thousands of years, and everything in the ecosystem is used to that plant. All of the insects are used to that plant. It's a food source for other native animals and insects that have been in this area for a long time. Examples of native plants that we see a lot of the time wherever we go are maple trees, specifically sugar maples, red maples. Black cherries are really good native because of what kind of insects they support. Dogwoods, gray dogwoods, flowering dogwoods, those are all examples of native species. And an invasive plant becomes invasive and it becomes a disturbance when it comes into an area where it has no predators, it has no insects that eat it, but it thrives well in the soil or the ecosystem that it lands up in. So the most common examples of invasive plants are anything usually ornamental. That's how a lot of invasive plants come into the wildlife and they take over because they're introduced as ornamentals. So one example would be a Norway maple, which are really common for sidewalk landscaping in cities. Another example would be Amur or Morellus honeysuckle, which are also ornamentals that people like to use in their yards. Before going in the field, we assume that the presence of invasive plants will negatively affect what kinds of insects will be there for food. And between the both of them, we're expecting that native plants will support more insects and more diversity than invasive plants.
The first step of this process is selecting an area for sampling. The research team made sure that their location had a mix of both native and invasive species. Once the plants were selected, the netting process began. Using bird exclusion nets, the team would cover one branch of the plant so that insects could gather on the leaves of that plant, but birds couldn't eat them. During the collection process, the researchers then sampled netted branches and open branches to see the difference in insect population between branches that birds could get to and branches that birds could not feed from. 360 samples were selected and left for 2 to 3 weeks during bird breeding season. To collect samples, Kathleen and the team used the beat sheet method, where they placed white sheets underneath the branches. They then proceeded to tap the branches, knocking off bugs, and collected them using a mouth-operated aspirator. Other samples were also collected. Once in the lab, bugs and plant samples were measured and identified in order to determine how much wildlife was being supported by the particular plant species.
Right now we are in our analysis, so like I said, we're measuring, IDing all of the insects that we have, and we're also calculating the dry weights of all the plants that we have. So we're hoping to be done with that as quickly as we can. It is going to take a while because we are projecting to measure about 8,000 insects, so that's very time consuming. But last year we did a similar project and we know what kind of statistics we need to do to present it. So we're hoping to use that as an outline. So the RESS poster will hopefully be all of our statistics presented from what we've collected from this summer and what it means.
All of Kathleen's research and projects done by other RESS participants could not be accomplished without the support of undergraduate and graduate research here at IUP.
Coming to IUP and having my advisor pick me up right on the spot and introduce me to research has been a great experience because it's made me a lot more confident in who I am as a scientist in general and who I want to be. Being in research and actually applying what I'm learning in classes and going out and doing this and not only doing the field work but also the lab work and the management of it all has been super helpful, not only for my confidence but also for my future. So the RESS program has been amazing. This is my second year being in it, and I really like how student-oriented it is. It's really about shaping and forming strong student leaders, scientists, and making sure that whenever they go into the field, they know exactly what is expected of them. The RESS program offers a bunch of skill-building activities such as resume building, poster building. The first talk that I ever gave as a biology student was at the RESS poster session. So that's a resume builder right there, and it's been super helpful with that. I appreciate all the funding that I've received from RESS both years, and that makes it possible to not have to look for a job in the summer and make a living on that, but I can make a living on the science that I'm working on every summer.